Greetings, Onion Slugs, and as I'm recording this video, I just got done beating Silent Hill F for the third time. Well, technically 2 times, one time was the UFO ending. Anyway, as I'm recording this video, I have over 20 hours on Silent Hill F, and I will have even more in the coming few days. Anyway, so I wanted to take the time to give you a review of this game, give you my thoughts on it. So the first part of this video will be going over the quick and easy review. So use the timestamps down below if you only care about the easy review, or if you want to hear my in-depth explanation in the second part of the video. So let's start by saying that I have played every single Silent Hill that is numbered except Silent Hill 4. So I have played Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, and Homecoming, and I have finished all of them several times, except for 3 that I recently beat. Anyway, so I can sort of give you an idea of, you know, what kind of player I am and what games that I have played. So this video is going to be a little bit all over the place because I haven't written a script or anything, so I wanted to keep it simple for you and, you know, more straightforward and honest. So in short, Silent Hill F, to me, is a great survival horror game. It is outstanding. It is a wonderful survival horror game. In terms of survival horror, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, if we start comparing it with Silent Hill games, it feels more like a spin-off. Now, that doesn't mean anything negative. I'm not saying that means it's bad. Overall, the combat feels very different, which I'm okay with. Honestly, Silent Hill is not renowned for having great combat. Silent Hill games often have awful combat, the worst possible combat you can possibly imagine. This one, though, actually was better, and it's probably the combat that I've enjoyed the most in any Silent Hill. But that's probably because I enjoy Souls-like games. Now, before you click off this video because I said it's a Souls-like game, I'm not saying it's a Souls-like game. It has elements of role-playing games. So I would characterize Silent Hill F as a role-playing survival horror game. That's the best way to describe it. So Silent Hill F, in case you don't know, has a lock-on system, which Souls-like games didn't invent, and a level-up system in the way that you find sort of items around the world that you can then use in addition to faith to level up your attributes. Your attributes are health, stamina, and sanity. Sanity controls a sort of focus type of mechanic in the game that allows you to focus your attacks, builds up a meter. Once the meter's full, you deal more damage if you press R1 or light attack, and it allows you to dodge better and perform perfect counters. Perfect counter is when the enemies light up red, they flash red for like a millisecond, and then you press the heavy attack button. So the focus or sanity makes it a lot better to see these attacks so you can counter better. So this game is a melee-only game. It does not have firearms, and I think that's a good thing, but sometimes you wish you had firearms. Anyway, in terms of music, absolutely 10 out of 10. I am a music fan and absolutely love everything about the music in this game, so there's no problems with the sound design in this game, in my opinion. In terms of visual and, you know, how the game looks, it's outstanding. I absolutely love everything about it. I personally don't feel the other world or the dark dimension, the dark shrine dimension, whatever you want to call it. I don't really like the look of it too much. I don't feel the whole folklore traditional Japanese thing, and maybe it could be because I am not very connected with the puzzles and the experience I had in the other world while playing the game, and I'll talk about that in my second part of this video when I'll go in depth. So in terms of visual design, graphic design, this game is absolutely amazing. Maybe I'm just being a little bit picky, but I don't really like the other world looking the way it does in this game, but I think it fits the sort of writing of Ryuki Shio7 and the sort of vibe that this game is meant to give you. Now, another important thing I want to tell you is that Silent Hill games don't always have a direct way of delivering the story. It's meant to be sort of cryptic and kind of make you guess and try to fill in the gaps yourself, or try to, you know, it forces the player or allows the player to find out more about the story if they so desire by reading puzzles, reading documents, and listening to secrets and other things like that. You know, the story is there, but you have to look for it. And even once you have all of the pieces of the puzzle together, it's still a little bit cryptic. So it does that very well in this game. I still don't know everything about the story, and I've assimilated pretty much 95% of the story so far as I'm recording this video. I get what happens from start to finish in NG Plus and in New Game, and I've seen 3 endings so far, so my opinion may change in the future. So in terms of story, I give it a 9 out of 10. I was very interested in the story, but in its delivery, it was a little bit slower than normally you would expect compared to something like Silent Hill 2, where you know that James is looking for his wife and all these things are happening, but you don't really know why they're happening. That sort of feeling returns in Silent Hill F, but in a very different way. So you know what happens, you know Hinako is going through stuff at her home and she's psychologically struggling, but you don't really understand why the monsters are happening or anything like that. You're sort of supposed to guess, even at the end of the game. It's not explicitly explained, but it is there. There is an explanation there, but I won't spoil it for you because that is a really neat thing that you have to find in the New Game Plus and the additional endings. Well, overall, I want to talk about... Overall, I like Silent Hill, but I want to talk about the combat because I know a lot of you guys care about the combat. I should have probably talked about this at the beginning of this video because most people are probably not going to stick around for this long. But anyway, in terms of combat, well, the combat for me, what can I say? The combat is just different but better. It's a step up in my opinion. A lot of people are talking about it being too Souls-likey and, you know, the stamina bar, but, you know, honestly, I was feeling the same way about the stamina bar and the health bar being displayed, and just gives off role-playing game vibes. But after playing the game for about 15 to 16 hours, I can safely say that it's something that you really get used to, and you really need to know your health at all times. So to me, it's an upgrade. I really like being able to see my health at all times. I don't understand why people just wanna not be able to see their health or stamina. That's, I guess, nostalgia. I don't know, but I like it. It fits the style of the game, and it's great. But I'll talk about that in my in-depth guide, or I guess the in-depth part of this video. Well, overall, I give Silent Hill F a generous 8 out of 10. I say generous because I honestly, the only thing that I did not like about the game, and those 2 points that it lost on me, was the latter half of the game, where you it just kind of loses its sort of how to explain. My favorite part about Silent Hill and Silent Hill F in general is roaming a town, you know, walking around a town that's enshrouded by fog, and the details of this map are amazing this time around. So that's my favorite thing, like seeing these beautiful settings, the absolute amazing contrast between the red of the growing flowers and the fog, and the traditional Japanese level design is absolutely amazing. And then it gets completely ruined by enemy spam. Just here's an enemy gauntlet, here's an enemy gauntlet, here's even more enemies. I get it from a story standpoint, but that stopped me from enjoying the game and seeing these beautiful levels that you see throughout this game. Also, another thing that lost me another point for this game was the Otherworld. I liked the first part of the Otherworld, the Shrine Vault, but after that it just kind of lost it for me. I don't like the design of it. I felt claustrophobic. It didn't have that sort of feeling that I got from, say, for example, the middle school part. That was my favorite part, by the way, the middle school, like going up the mountains and going into the middle school, and the mannequins, the classmates, the people in the uniform. That was amazing. That was peak Silent Hill for me. That right there is what I think about when I think Silent Hill. It is 100% Silent Hill. If you haven't experienced the middle school yet, I hope you get to it and you'll know what I mean. Anyway, that is the short version of this review. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's a great survival horror game. It is absolutely a Silent Hill game. And I like that they went with something new and they didn't limit themselves to being in the Silent Hill location. But maybe that'll be something that we talk about after I beat the game and get all 5 endings. Now for the long story, the long review of Silent Hill F. So Silent Hill F to me is a wonderful survival horror game. Is it a good Silent Hill game? Yeah, I would say so. Yes. Not everything has to take place in Silent Hill. Not everything has to have a male character that is looking for his wife or daughter. You know, there's a lot of people who are attached to the classic survival horror Silent Hill games from the PS1 and PS2 era and often forget what Silent Hill really is. Silent Hill is a game that usually puts the main character through a sort of limbo or personal hell, and they go through a journey to find themselves. That's what Silent Hill is. It's not James Sunderland looking for his wife with a steel pipe and a handgun, a rifle, and a shotgun. That is Silent Hill 2. And that is the most popular Silent Hill game, for sure. That's probably why you feel like Silent Hill should have weapons. Or, you know, that's why people feel like Silent Hill games, or Silent Hill F, should have firearms. Another complaint I've seen online is that the character is female. Now, how stupid do you have to be? I'm sorry for making this a little bit personal, but I'll just leave it at that. But Silent Hill, I'll focus on the Silent Hill F game. But seriously, get a grip. Anyway, Silent Hill F, let's start with this list of things that I will be talking about. Perhaps I'll add more later as we go along. Let's talk about the gameplay, the combat, the story, the music and sound design, and the unlocks and post-game content. These 5 things. So the very first thing, I won't go in order because I already just forgot what I told you. But it's ADHD is a hell of a thing. Anyway, the first thing, the gameplay. In terms of gameplay, the gameplay loop of Silent Hill F is you're exploring an area. As you're exploring, you're picking up stuff, things like Ramune, which allows you to regenerate your sanity, health items, toolkits, and weapons. The game loop is, you know, exploring, picking up stuff, finding notes, reading them, immersing yourself through the level design, and that's pretty much the game loop. At some point, after you progress enough through an area, you will have to find a key item to progress. After you progress enough and go through the same loop again, you will encounter enemies that you have to defeat or run past. Some you have to defeat, others you can just run past. After that, essentially you get to the point where the game will play a cutscene or an event will unfold, such as the fog chasing you or the fog thing chasing you. You get knocked out and then you get put into the other world. You go through another series of puzzles, and at the end of this series of puzzles, as you defeat enemies, once you open up the door or whatever objective you have, you end up having to fight a boss. There are bosses in this game. I can't count from the top of my head, but I believe there are 5 bosses without spoiling too much. And yeah, that's pretty much the gameplay loop. How do I feel about the game, this gameplay loop? I like every single thing except the other world. So what the other world essentially is, which is, you know, the traditional Japanese area, so to speak. What that is an otherworldly experience, something that isn't real. It's like the character going through their personal struggle. This is the visual representation of a nightmare, sort of, or like an imagination. It's hard to explain. It's like a figurative place where the character goes through a personal experience. In this case, Hinako having to struggle with the things that bother her psychologically, such as the pressure from her parents to marry, an arranged marriage, or, you know, whatever, you know, struggling with connecting with other girls and, you know, not quite wanting to live up to the standards of society and, you know, all of those things. But in the gameplay form of the other world, you are basically going around an area that is usually filled with enemies as you're trying to solve a puzzle or a series of puzzles. And at the end, you end up solving this puzzle. You either wake up or end up fighting a boss that is a formidable foe. So that's what the other world is. Why don't I like it too much? The puzzles in the other world just felt like a chore, and as I was trying to solve stuff, things kept hitting me constantly. Even when I was overpowered, it just felt like I just felt frustration. But I was playing on Lost in the Fog difficulty, so maybe that's the reason. Anyway, I just didn't like the design of the world. It just felt like it didn't really feel like a cursed place. It felt like, to me, it did feel like a cursed place, but it was just a series of puzzles that felt like it was put there just to be filler. And although I liked the story that happens there, all the symbolism and stuff like that, I just didn't like those sections for the most part. I did like the boss fights. They were very engaging. The perfect dodge and the perfect counter stuff I really like, because I'm a fan of Souls-like games, and those things are elements that are familiar to those games. In other words, that's probably the only thing that I dislike about Silent Hill F. Well, one of the things that I dislike about Silent Hill F. So that's the gameplay of it. And I give the gameplay an 8 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. I really like exploring the town, like I said, with the fog, with the red flowers and stuff like that. That stuff is what I enjoy about the game. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is the story. Like I said, I'm not going in order. The story is very vague, much like in other Silent Hill games. I truly connected with Hinako. I really felt for her, and I felt a connection with her. You know, I didn't feel like I didn't care about the character like you would in other games. Like, for example, Harry in Silent Hill 1. He's not particularly a bad character, but I didn't feel anything for him. Maybe part of it is because the game is super old and the acting just quite wasn't there, or the writing wasn't there, but I really didn't care about Harry. I guess if I was feeling bad that his daughter was gone, but that's pretty much it. I started caring about him in Silent Hill 3 because, you know, after you've had the experience of Silent Hill 1, playing Silent Hill 3, you feel a more connection to the story. But anyway, I digress. With Hinako, I felt it was great because the voice acting is wonderful. I experienced it in Japanese, and I played a little bit in English. I think both actors did a great job. Everyone else also did a great job. I really like playing in Japanese though, and that was part of the reason why I enjoyed the game a lot more, I think, maybe. So if you haven't played the game in Japanese, maybe consider playing it. So story, confusing, but you had to play NG Plus and read everything to sort of enjoy it to its fullest. And yeah, I give the story an 8 out of 10, mostly because I feel like I like the replayability of the game, that it's pushing you to play again, to, you know, you have that information in your mind, and it's allowing you to play it again with a set of brand new eyes. And I like that, but I don't give it a 9 or 10 because it just, some parts of the game, such as, you know, that were being told in the files, sometimes it feels like it could have been told in different ways. Like, a lot of the story is missable because it's in files, and that's why it's an 8.5 out of 10 for me for the story. But I like it. That's not a bad thing. But I just wish a lot of the important stuff wasn't put only in the files, in the documents. All right, another thing, number 3, I guess, is the music. The sound design is absolutely amazing. Akira Yamaoka returns as a composer, absolutely knocks it out of the park. Perfect atmosphere, perfect, absolutely amazing. The after credit music, several songs in this game are after credit, you know, credit music, is just absolutely amazing. It's exactly what you would expect from a Silent Hill game. The sound design is a 10 out of 10. That's all I will say, because honestly, everything's good about it. Alright, another thing. Let's see. I already forgot my points, but okay, combat. Right? Did I talk about the combat? I want to talk about the combat. So the combat in Silent Hill F, you have a health bar, a stamina bar, and a sanity bar. Health bar, pretty self-explanatory. Stamina bar, it depletes as you do things. When you're running around exploring, it doesn't deplete. But if an enemy is in range, it will start depleting if you start sprinting and doing things. You constantly run out of stamina if you don't upgrade it. Now, speaking of upgrading, you do find something called Enna, which is an item or, you know, a little square thing that you can find. It's like the core from Dead Space, if you play Dead Space, or, you know, it's an item that you use to upgrade yourself at a shrine, which is a checkpoint. Another thing that is new to this game, I guess, is the checkpoint. It's where you save your game. It's where you offer things to the gods to get faith. With this faith, which is similar to souls in Dark Souls or Elden Ring, the runes, you use this currency that you get from selling things, offering enshrining items such as treasures, such as combs, and other things like that, or selling your health items such as yokan, ramune, and other things that you consume physically to restore your health, stamina, or sanity. You get faith back. With this faith and the Enna, you can level up your attributes, your health, stamina, and sanity. So sanity, you can also cleanse your sanity with faith. So sanity is a golden bar that you see on your screen, and with this golden bar, you can pretty much focus. When you're focused, you are more powerful when the meter fills up, and then you press R1, you deal a powerful blow. Or if an enemy's turn flashes red, you can press R2, which is a heavy attack, at the right time. Being focused makes this easier, and you perform a perfect counter. I like that about this game. I like the combat, but sometimes it spams you with too many enemies. So I can't give a combat a 9 out of 10. I'll give it an 8 because I really don't like enemy spam. There's a lot of enemy spam in the later part of the game, and that's something that I would change. I really hate that stupid shackled dog thing. The guy that doesn't have a phase, that moves on all four. It's just, I hate him. So 8 out of 10. Generous 8 out of 10 for the combat. And, but yeah, so replayability and unlocks. After you beat the game, you unlock NG+. In NG+, you get to then load that file from your load game menu, and you start with your stuff from that load game file that you saved after completing the game. So you start with your items, your weapons. Some key item documents are kept, so you have the hint for the puzzles, and you also keep your story stuff, which is super important because you need to play NG+ to understand the story. And you also keep your attributes and your omamori, which is a thing like talismans that you carry around that give you buffs like additional stamina, additional health. And I really like this. Personally, I don't think it should have been a Silent Hill game, but I like it. So I can give the combat, I guess, the progression system, and a 10 out of 10. I'll give it an 8. That's why I feel like Silent Hill F is an 8 out of 10 for me. Mostly because I don't like having to increase attributes in a game like this. I think increasing your health should have been done in a different way. I don't like that. But you know, I got used to it, so I didn't mind it too much. But in terms of survival horror game, I don't think it should have been done this way. For example, in Resident Evil 2 Remake, you upgrade your damage of your weapons by finding parts. That's what I prefer when it comes to dealing more damage. Do you know what I'm trying to say? In Resident Evil 4 Remake, you go to a merchant, and if you have enough money, which you can acquire in a million ways, you can get an overpowered weapon and fully upgrade your damage. Now the game sort of balances itself out by adding adaptive difficulty. What that means is if you are too good at Resident Evil 4 Remake, the game becomes 10 times harder. So it adapts itself in that way. That's why Resident Evil 4 is an action game, and that's why I feel like Silent Hill F draws a little bit from that, and it becomes a role-playing horror game, in my opinion. I don't think you should be able to find items that allow you to level up your stuff if you have the faith. I think you should be able to find items that you put on your character or your weapons that allow you to become stronger or have more HP, like perhaps an attire or change of uniform. I think that's the way I would have done it. Like, you find shoes that are in a wardrobe that increase your stamina, and or perhaps, I don't know, you find candy that you really like, or chewing gum that increases your health, something along those lines, rather than having to acquire currency and attribute enhancing ENA, or an item like a core that upgrades yourself. I don't know. I just feel like it has a lot of role-playing games that features that kind of break my immersion of it being a survival horror game. It is still a wonderful survival horror game. I give it an 8.58 out of 10 in terms of survival horror game. But without those things, I think it would have been better for me. But that's just me being picky. All right, in terms of boss fights, the boss fights really feel like nothing that I would expect from a survival horror game. But that's not a bad thing. It felt like it took the survival horror boss fights and it added onto them. That's why a lot of people feel like a lot of the boss fights feel like a Souls-like game, because a lot of the movesets, sometimes there's fireballs, sometimes there's firewalls, sometimes you have to run away from the circle or into the circle, or run towards the enemy before it performs an attack. So all those things are similar to Souls-like games, but maybe not so much for a game like Silent Hill. Now, let's actually think about this though. Silent Hill 2. In Silent Hill 2, you fight flesh lips, which is a thing that's hanging off the ceiling. You have to run around, hit it, dodge. So it is Silent Hill combat. That is how Silent Hill F feels. You have to learn the pattern of a boss, and you have to dodge it accordingly and hit it when it's not hitting you. So that combat is still there, except it has fireballs now. So the combat is Silent Hill with role-playing game elements added into it. That's the best way to describe it. In terms of final bosses, spoiler alert, there are different, let's just say different final bosses that they really felt like nothing a survival horror game has. But honestly, I didn't mind it. It just felt really epic. So I don't hate it. I really like the optional boss that you get by getting the fox whets its tail ending. Anyway, well, there you have it. Overall, I enjoyed Silent Hill F. I really enjoy it as a survival horror game. I really enjoy the graphic design, the level design, sorry, and the music is outstanding. It is very immersive, but the final part of the game became less enjoying for me. As I progressed, I like the parts where you explore the town and the real world stuff. When it became a little bit too fantastical is when I kind of lost it. And then the addition of the enemy spam at the end, just during a section, I just didn't like that too much. It became too actiony by the end. But for the most part, it is a slow-paced survival horror game. Exactly what you would expect from a Silent Hill game. So go ahead and try it. Use your own judgment. This is a review, but also my own thoughts. So hopefully this helps you out. And you know what helps me out? A like. So if you've made it to this point in the video, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you enjoyed this. And hit the notification bell if you do subscribe, so you get notified if you want to see more of my playthroughs, my guides, my reviews. And I will see you in the comment section. Bye bye.